Alright guys, it's Chatterbox Reviews, coming at you guys with The Walking Dead Season 8, Episode 10 review. Alright, so this episode had some pretty big shoes to fill, because last episode was such a good one, or at least for me it was. It was almost a perfect episode for me. Looking back, I heard some of my friends, I have a lot of friends who watch the show with me, not, physically with me, but, they, we kind of, take notes and kind of share some stuff with each other and talk about the show. And a lot of them seem to think that the Carl death, like, it was kind of drawn out a little bit too far. And looking back at it, I kind of agree with that, although he was a big character in the show, right? So, I mean, I kind of get, that they needed the whole, basically an hour for him to die, pretty much, right? For him to finally end his life. But basically put himself down in a way. But yeah, so that was just some that I heard, but overall it was to me almost the perfect episode, pretty damn close. Really, really good episode. I'd say best episode of season 8, no doubt in my mind, just like by far. And this episode, let me tell you, it was pretty good. I mean, hey, obviously, not quite up to the standards of that one, but again, very good. I would say this is in the top 3 episodes of the season as well. I really liked The Dam. The Dam was actually, I don't know, I don't think in top 10, but top 15, I would say. I would put it in for Walking Dead. That was a very good episode. There's a lot of fighting, a lot of action. That was maybe some of the most action that we've ever, seen in the show, except for, of course, Too Far Gone, No Sanctuary, and those ones. But anyways, most action, I'd say, for this season, at least, talking within one episode, right? But yeah, so this one, I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. And yeah, so they put a pretty unique spin on this one. I meant to look up the director for this episode, but I forgot who it was. It's not Greg Nicotero, because he did last episode, and this isn't his style, but they kind of tried out a new style here, and I'm not sure if it's going to resonate with the rest of the season, or at least next episode. I don't think it will, but it was interesting because, at the very beginning, they had just had a black screen where it says Michonne. And then, we see, the episode start. And at this point, I'm like, oh, like, that's a little weird, right? Maybe it's just for the intro. But then it actually correlated throughout the whole episode and kept, repeating, characters' names. And then we see a segment, commercial, character name, segment. So they really broke this one up and really did something cool with it. I actually don't know how I feel about it. I'm not sure if I liked it or I didn't like it. I'm kind of in between right now. Because it's definitely different, though. It's definitely a different way to spin an episode here. I like the content, but I'm just not sure how I felt about the whole character name and the organization of the episode. I'm pretty sure the director would be responsible for that. So again, I'm not sure who directed this episode, but I will try to get the name, and then I'll put it in the description maybe, and say a couple things. So anyways, recap for this episode here. Quite a lot of stuff happened, to be honest. It was quite a good episode. Really answered basically all the questions that we had from the finale. Because of course last episode didn't answer much, right? It was Carl's death and the whole kingdom takedown, basically, with Carol and Morgan and Ezekiel and Henry. So anyways, we start this one off with the intro bit, and this is Michonne's bit, right? So it says Michonne, and I'm gonna organize my recap in that way as well, keeping with the character sequences. So yeah, so for Michonne, we start off with Rick and Michonne, finish bringing Carl there at Alexandria. And then we also see that the gravestone, or the grave, the cross over Carl's grave, and Rick actually puts that gun on his grave. And so apparently, I don't know, I was watching Talking Dead afterwards. I sometimes tune into it, but, last night I did, and apparently that was paying homage to Shane. Shane in the comics, or back in season 2 when he was buried. Or I guess he was never buried. Yeah, so it must have been in the comics that we saw that, apparently. Yeah, I haven't seen that in the comics, but yeah. So I was supposed to be paying homage to that. That's why they focused on that for a few seconds there in that scene. But, if you don't read the comics, you wouldn't really understand that. So, anyways, so then we see the aftermath of Alexandria. I mean, walkers just everywhere. There's smoke. There's debris. It's basically just, it's basically done. I mean, it's pretty collapsed. I mean, some of the houses are intact though. I feel like the Saviors only attacked like a portion of Alexandria, right? I mean, like, near the main gate, the front entrance part. Because Alexandria is pretty big. Like, it's a big place, if you really think about it. So, I feel like the back half and, like, one of the sides is still intact and, like, pretty good. Because Rick and Michonne go back to the house, like I'm just going to say in a few seconds. They go back to the house, and it looks perfectly fine, and nothing's touched. So, obviously, not all of Alexandria is affected, but the main road and the entrance, I mean, it's just completely destroyed. So then Michonne, goes back to their house, like I said, and sees the blue handprints on the porch. I have to point it out that I called that one, okay? I called that one. Last week I said the blue footprints are going to come back again, handprints are going to come back again, and they're going to symbolize something bigger. They're going to mean something to someone. I thought it would be Rick, but it ends up being Michonne. She goes back and she sees the handprints. So I just want to get that out there that I called that. I'm really happy about that. I was like kind of cheering to myself when I was watching the episode. No, but anyways, so then they get all these, they pack up some supplies. They get it in the van, and then Michonne wants to put out the fire, the gazebo that is on fire. And she says, that Carl used to sit on there, and that, it mattered to Carl, or he cared about it. It was like, his own, little thing. But sadly, they can't manage to put it out with the amount of walkers. They get a couple of fire extinguishers, and try to put it out. But, they don't have time, right? All these walkers are coming in, kind of swarming them. So they don't have time to put the fire out, and the gazebo goes up in flames as they drive out. So, just unfortunate there, and we already see, that they're... I wouldn't say they're in denial, but they're trying to keep things to remember Carl by a little bit, and this time they fail. So, that was just, continuing on that part about Carl and the emotional aspect of that. So then they get in the van and they leave Alexandria. This was a sad moment, right? I mean, they haven't, they got to Alexandria, end of season 6? Season 5. End of season 5, they got to Alexandria, and now they are basically leaving for good, right? There's no one there living there anymore. They're leaving now. Obviously, they're going to come back a little bit later, probably at the end of the war. But for now, they're leaving. And that was a sad moment, right? When they're driving away, and Rick and Michonne both look at the sign of Alexandria. Obviously it's not a sanctuary or a safe place anymore. So that was a little bit sad there. And then Rick in the drive there, he asked Michonne what Carl wanted. He doesn't really understand exactly what Carl wanted. He said, does he want us to just stop fighting or whatever? So he kind of doesn't understand that. He doesn't, he thinks that that can't happen. He thinks that Carl is he can't do exactly what he said. I don't know how much I really appreciate that, because like he told Carl that he would make it real, and that he would do this and stuff, and he was very sympathetic. But now he's saying, what did he even mean, right? Like, I don't know. It's a little bit off there, but that's just me. And then Michonne reveals that Carl wrote Negan a letter, with the rest of the letters there addressed to Rick, I think, Daryl, all the main people in his life. And he actually wrote one to Negan. So that was very interesting. That was a very interesting reveal there. But then, Rick says they have to continue on, right? He wants to keep going, and obviously his main goal is to win the war still, right? Yes, his son has died, but he's got to, focus on something to keep him sort of busy, to put that in the back of his mind right now, to keep going with this war. So then he says that he wants to go see Jadis and make sure that, they are on his side still. The Junkyard Group has been it's kind of been a pawn, really, for both sides in this war so far, and he really wants them back on their side. So then they get to the junkyard, and they find it to be booby-trapped, right? They walk in, and then all the junk falls on them, and all these walkers start coming out, and it's the junkyard people who are the walkers. Crazy stuff here, and all the walkers are coming out, and they're all after Rick and Michonne, and then we see the intro. So a little bit of cliffhanger there, of course, but yeah, so that's how we kind of start the episode there, and that's where we get to, and then we see Negan. So this is another character one, and I did appreciate that they had a commercial they had, a character's sequence and a commercial. Like, they really separated these. They did not, defer from them. But anyway, so Negan. So Simon comes in to talk with Negan in that room, and Negan tells him to go visit the garbage people and teach them a lesson, right? So that they, fall in line, so that they're back with the saviors, because they know that they went with Rick to the sanctuary, right? They shot at them and, were trying to kill them. So they know, right? They know. And yeah, so Negan says, teach them, so make sure they fall in line, kill one, and the rest will follow, right? Their strategy is always, they find a group, they kill one, and the rest, kind of get in line. So Simon objects to this, and he says that he wants to just kill all of them. He said, let's wipe the slate clean. Obviously that hasn't been working, so let's just kill all of them, is what he says. That's what he proposes, including Alexandria. Right? Like, crazy stuff. And he says, they should take them all out. They should just wipe the slate clean. And Negan tells him to only kill one. He says, just one, Simon. Right? And he's getting, like, pretty into this, right? Negan's not happy with Simon, objecting to that. And then the men come in with the coffin that Maggie sent. So this was kind of a cool thing. I wasn't sure when we were going to see this again. But it actually happened, quicker than I thought. So basically then they open it up and Simon is pissed, right? As it's one of his guys from the satellite outpost. That's his outpost that he runs, right? And this is Dean from the satellite outpost where he lives. So he's pretty pissed, right? That Dean's dead, and now that they've sent him back in this coffin. So this just gives him more, flame, more, the fire is growing in him, right? Because he wants to, kill all of them anyways, so this just gives him more reason to do so. So he says then he wants to kill every single one from the hilltop for doing this, for killing Dean and putting him in this box. And Negan, I mean, he gets just irate, right? He gets really angry, he tells him to do his job, like, do your job, Simon, right? And he bangs Lucille on the table too, so he's not happy with Simon. And then we see at this moment, Simon is, like, clearly intimidated by this, he kind of takes a step back, right? So I felt like that was kind of interesting there, that he does fear Negan, right? He definitely does fear Negan. Everyone does, right? With a friggin' baseball bat wrapped in barbed wire. But anyways, so yeah, he is intimidated by that, and he kind of, takes a step back and agrees to doing the proper strategy. But yeah, definitely this shows trouble in leadership, right? A conflict between Simon and Negan, and as we see, of course, later in the episode, it's a big conflict, and I feel like it's going to progress even farther from here. So, I don't know. I don't know what's going to go on here, but obviously some trouble there at the sanctuary. That affect the war. Maybe Simon, goes off the rails, like in this episode, does something that Negan doesn't like. Negan maybe has to take him out. I don't know. I just know that Simon's not going to kill Negan. I'm pretty damn sure about that. But Negan may kill Simon in this second half. I don't know. This is definitely brewing something. So then we see Enid. So this is her part now. And she's back to the ocean side, right? We saw that in the finale. And again, this is another answer to one of our questions. So the Oceanside women bring Aaron and Enid in to the community there, and they cuff them to that same, that air conditioning unit, I guess, in that same building that the Tara and... No, I guess it was just Tara, right? Tara was in there, or Tara was just in there herself, and she was in the same place. It's kind of like their prison, I guess. But anyways, so Cindy is now the new leader, right? Because Tanya is now dead because Enid shot her and killed her the last episode. So Cindy is basically the new acting leader, and she orders for them to be killed for killing her grandma, right? She just, out and out just says, take them to the beach and we're going to kill them. And then, luckily for Enid and Aaron, she changes her mind as Enid tells her, stuff. And this was a powerful episode for Enid. I mean, she only had about, 4 or 5 minutes screen time, but I felt like it was very important because, one, she kills someone, and we also see her, feeling that, feeling that guilt of killing her. And then also she's able to talk Cindy out of this, and that's a big thing. So she says that her grandma got herself killed, which is pretty, that's pretty offensive, telling the granddaughter of her that her grandma got herself killed, which is true. I mean, she was, hurting Aaron, and Enid defended him. And she also says that Rick and the group will come back and wipe them all out if if she doesn't let them go, which is very true. I mean, Aaron and Enid die, they don't come back. Rick and the group, you better believe that they're going to the ocean side, and they're probably taking them all out. So I don't disagree with her there. And of course, Cindy kind of sees this, and she's like, oh yeah, she's probably right. So then Cindy ends up taking them to the outskirts of the community and tells them to never come back. She doesn't want them there again. She's letting them go free, but she never wants to see them again back at the ocean side. And obviously this means that they don't want to, take part in the war, which I still don't understand. I mean, this storyline, yeah, I don't mind it, but I just really don't understand why they won't get into the war. It's, whatever. Anyways, it's just taking a little bit too long in my opinion. We've met them in Season 7, Episode 6, and they still are so indecisive. I don't know. Anyways, Aaron then tells Enid that he is going to stay until they agree to join the fight. And, kudos to Aaron. I mean, he's trying, right? He's dedicated, and he knows that without the ocean side, they can probably beat the Saviors, but with the ocean side, they probably, they definitely will beat the Saviors. So, they need the numbers, and Oceanside has a lot of strong fighters as well. So he says that he's going to stay, but he says, he tells Enid to go back home to help Maggie. Also tell her not to come here, right? Because she's, she's involved with the war. He doesn't want her to be involved in this. So, very interesting. And I mean, it makes sense. Enid, she needs to go back. She needs to help Maggie out and be with, the people at the hilltop. And Aaron, I mean, yeah, he's been helpful, but he's always been, that guide, trying to get people to Alexandria. And then in this case, he's just trying to get them into the war. So I think he's going to succeed. But anyways, they say goodbye, and Enid then leaves. So, yeah, very interesting part here. Good character development for Enid, for sure. And we'll have to see what happens to Aaron in the future there. But very dangerous, right? Because she said, we'll kill you if we ever see you again. Don't ever come back. And now he's going to stay and go back. So we'll see what happens to Aaron. So then we see Simon, right? This sequence here, and this was really dark. I mean, for The Walking Dead, I mean, we saw Negan, bash Glenn and Abraham's head in the premiere of Season 7, but I would argue that this is probably the most goriest thing. Goriest, I don't think that's a word. Most gory, I guess. I don't know. Most gory thing that we've seen since then, or the most, inhumane thing that we've seen since then. Although the Saviors basically gunned down every single kingdom member in that one thing, and that happened in a second. This was sort of more built up, but it was definitely a dark part in the episode. And obviously we see this Simon character really come out, and this was a big episode for him. I don't think he's had this much time before, and he, they really focused on him in this one. So anyways, Simon and his group go to the junkyard, right, because Negan's instructed them to go there, teach them a lesson, kill one, right, kill one, they'll fall in line, and everything will be good again, and they'll be on their side. Simon has different plans, right? Or at least he has that plan, but he switches. So, anyways, and my question is, though, they go to the junkyard, and then we just see them walk right in. I mean, how did they just walk right in? The junkyard people, I guess they're slimy, right? They're slimy. So they're going to say, oh, well, yeah, we were on your side. And we even see Jada say that they were on their side. So, I mean, I guess it makes sense for them to just, say, oh, yeah, our friends, come in. But, if they really, felt like they were with Rick and Alexandria, and they see a bunch of Saviors outside, why would you, why the hell would you let them in, right? I don't know. That part didn't quite make sense, that we just saw them walk right in. Anyways, that's just me. So Simon then takes all the guns from them, and then also asks for an apology from Jadis, right? Because he knows, the Saviors know that they were with Rick. They turned sides now, back in Season 8, back in the first half, and that, they're with Rick now. So he wants an apology. He knows that Jadis and them are going to join them again, join the Saviors, because they've already given up all the guns. Everything's going pretty well. But he wants an apology, right? And, this is just sadistic Simon, right? I mean, he's making them apologize or whatever. But anyways, so then Jadis says, this took some balls from her, really. Simon's asked for a apology. She says they were, taking Rick to them. They were taking Rick to them and gonna give the Saviors Rick. And this is like hilarious. Simon's line here. He says, "Bullshit," and like yells it out. I love that. I just thought it was hilarious in the way he said it. Stephen Ogg, he's hilarious. In these kind of one-liners and everything. But anyways, he knows that's bullshit, right? He knows that they were on Rick's side. They were not. They did not bring Rick there. But kudos to Judas for trying. Or Jadis. Jadis. I'm getting confused with Judith and Jadis. But anyway, Jadis, kudos for her for trying it, I guess. But anyways, so then everything, seems to be going as planned, right? Everything seems to be going as planned. But Simon wants an apology, still from Jadis, because he knows that that's bullshit, that other thing. And he wants Jadis to show remorse. Right? He says the stuff about the restitution or whatever, it's been paid now with the guns, but now we need a little remorse for what you did, right? So, she tells him there is remorse, but kind of in like a fake tone, like, there is remorse or, something like that, right? Didn't really actually seem like, she was remorseful. And then he shoots the older man who I would say Brian is his name. He seemed to be like Jadis' sidekick, right? Or right-hand man. And so that's a pretty big death, right? So he guns him down, he shoots him down, and he says, show some remorse, or I want to hear remorse. Again, Jadis now a little bit more seriously, because she just lost Brian, who's obviously she cared about. She says, there is remorse, or whatever, right? And then he shoots the young woman, and you're like, whoa. I mean, Negan gave this guy instructions to kill one, right? And now he's killed two. And it's like, how far are you going to go? And he did it so easily. Didn't have a second thought about it. Just gunned them down right there and right beside Jadis, too. So then he shoots that younger woman who I think was friends with Jadis as well. Like, those were her two top people, pretty much. They were standing right beside her there. Then, again, a ballsy move by Jadis. She knocks him out. She knocks him on his ass, Simon, there. And, I didn't even think she hit him that hard. But anyways, he went down. So he's on the ground. And, he's not having it, right? He's infuriated at this point, because, she just knocked him on his ass, and, he's not going to take that. And even when he's down, she says there is remorse, like, stop, we are remorseful of this. She doesn't want anyone else to die at this point. But then he gets up, and this is just insane. I mean, he gets up, he stands up, and he says, "Light it up, gents, light it up now." Right? I'm sorry that I'm doing it. He just says, "Light it up, gents. Light it up now." It's not as good. But anyways, that's what he says. And the Saviors just start firing. Open fire and gunning down all the junkyard people in front of Jadis. Right beside of her, kind of. Simon is out of control. Right? That switch just flipped with him when he got knocked on his ass there. And he's out of control. Right? The Saviors literally gunned down every single junkyard person except for Jadis. Like, it's crazy. It was literally just a firing squad, right? Crazy stuff. And, I mean, that's what I'm talking about. This is probably the most, immoral, inhumane thing that we've seen since that premiere. So yeah, crazy stuff. So anyways, we see that, and that's kind of the last thing we see, and then Simon's like smiling as it's happening. So we know that he's out of control, right? We thought Negan was bad. Maybe Simon is even worse. So anyways, then he goes back to the sanctuary, and he tells Negan that everything went as planned, which is a total lie. I mean, it's just like a complete lie. He just killed all of them. And he didn't kill just one, and they definitely will not be learning a lesson because they're all dead. So, except for Jadis. But, anyways, he tells Negan that it went all as planned. Everything went good. Right, and all this. Oh, my God. So then Negan says he sent out a search team for Gavin, and he has not heard from him yet. So that's a big piece as well. I think that's going to play out next episode a little bit more. But we're going to have to see what happens with that, because obviously we know that Gavin's dead, so we'll see what that search team finds as well. And then we see a man then brings Negan a radio and says that Rick is on the line. So, yeah, so that's kind of where Simon's little thing ends there. And then we have Jadis, so her part as well. And she had a pretty big episode part in this episode as well. I'd say Simon and her were kind of the spotlights for this one. Both characters that don't see a lot of screen time normally, but in this episode they were focused on quite a bit. So then we see Rick and Michonne find Jadis sitting on a hill of junk after they kind of fight their way up onto a hill from all these walkers that came out when they first came in. She tells them that this place wasn't a dump before, right? And she touched on this with Simon. Simon asked this a little bit earlier, and so now she's kind of reflecting on it. She says it wasn't a dump before. It was just, covered in trash, right? There was just a bunch of trash on the ground. There was no, mounds of junk, and there's no, designs or anything the way it looks now, right? And she says that, her group made it, and it was their own world away from everyone else, right? So she's, they're really, artistic, or she is at least, and she was able to design this place, and yeah, so they basically treat it like it was their own world, and they didn't want to be disturbed. They want to have their own little thing. So yeah, that's what we kind of learned. We learned a little bit more background, which is nice, because we literally knew pretty much nothing about them until this episode. Still not, but yeah, so then we see that Jadis wants to leave with Rick, right? Rick and Michonne are going to get out, obviously. They want to leave. And Jadis wants to leave with them. But Rick then says he's done with their games, and him and Michonne fight their way out. They grab a couple car doors. That was kind of cool. And they fight their way out. They're able to get out. And Rick even points the gun at Jadis to make sure she doesn't come with them. And, of course, fires over her head, and then leaves. So, Rick's kind of done with them, right? He doesn't know what exactly happened there, but he doesn't want to. He's done with the junkyard people for good, and they have now left. So that's kind of the end there. And this leaves Jadis alone to fend for herself. She survives as the walkers, of course, and she's able to get up on a mound. So then Jadis works out a plan to lure all her people that are now walkers, right? But you got to keep in mind, these are her people. Like, she was the leader of these people. And she leads them all to a grinder machine. I mean, this was just disgusting. I mean, seeing all these walkers come in and all the grind, and then it made this, like, paste of guts. Oh, that was gross. But, smart plan, right? You got to give, credit for that. The plan works, obviously, and she's able to take out all the walkers pretty easily in this grinder. And now, she can live there, right? She's alone. But at least there's no walkers around. But, yeah, very disgusting. Ugh, just disgusting. I mean, that's just gross. But anyways, and then we see the sadness that she feels for the death of her people, right? When she saw Brian and the other woman who were shot, walking into that grinder, she really, she was crying as well, and we saw that emotion from her. So yeah, obviously tough, right? If you're the leader of the people and you let them down, you don't lead them, and they end up dying. So obviously a tough one for her. And I feel like that's part of Simon's thing, right? That he left her alive, to feel that, right? So that she would feel, that emotion and that sadness for all her people dying, instead of just killing her and kind of putting her out of her misery, per se. So yeah, definitely something to keep in mind, and something to look forward to, not look forward to, but, keep in mind for the future, to see where Jadis ends up. So we'll have to see. Then we get to probably the biggest part of the episode, Rick. So, we knew that it was coming because we saw all these other characters, right? We knew that Rick had to be coming. But anyways, so Rick then tells Michonne he needs a minute. So they're in the van. They're still driving away from the junkyard group now. And he was reflecting a little bit on Jadis, letting her live or whatever. And yeah, so he says he needs a minute, right? So they pull over on the road. And Rick takes the letters from Michonne, and he actually reads Carl's letter to Negan. Right, and to Negan, I think he may have read his too, I'm not sure, but he definitely reads the letter to Negan, and then he takes the radio that he got beforehand, he picked up before back in Alexandria on the ground, he takes that and he radios Negan on the walkie-talkie, not originally, but he says, give me Negan, and the guy says, who's this? Rick Grimes, and, everything, is kind of intensifying, right? And all that, and so yeah, he radios Negan on the walkie-talkie. This is really cool because we haven't seen. Well, I guess we saw them in the premiere, kind of face to face, but we've never, they've never had just a chance to talk, to discuss, right? And we haven't seen this in a while. So, anyways, Rick tells Negan that Carl has died. So, Yeah, so crazy stuff, right? And this is like the most surprising thing, the way Negan reacts. So he tells Negan that Carl has died, and that Carl wrote in his letter telling Negan to stop fighting. He wants Negan and Rick to begin peace between the two, right? And to stop this war, stop fighting, and just, kind of come together and be peaceful. Obviously, I mean, I don't know. I don't think that can happen at this point, and I agree with Rick when he says this. He says it's too late for that, and that he's going to kill Negan. He's going to kill him. He doesn't, really care what his son said about stop fighting. He's going to kill Negan, right? At least that. Maybe he'll stop fighting after that, but he is going to kill Negan. That's not going to change, right? His son's letter is not going to stop him from doing that. So then Negan says, how did it happen or something, and Rick tells Negan that Carl got bit, and that's how he died. It wasn't the Saviors. He got bit, and that's how he died. And Negan responds emotionally. I mean, he actually has emotions apparently. Seems very sad about the news. Sympathetic Negan. We haven't seen that in a while. Maybe the last time was like in episode 5, Big Scary You, when him and Gabriel were in that trailer together, and Gabriel evoked a little emotion from him. But wow, I mean, sympathetic Negan. So we really know that he cared about Carl. He really did. In the end, he actually really did care about him. So yeah, crazy stuff there, right? Crazy stuff. We haven't seen him in a while, and this really does prove he really did care about Carl, and he really. I would even say that he maybe loved him as his own son, pretty much. I mean, the way he treated him and all that. But anyways, and then he tells Rick that he wanted him to be a part of things, and that he had plans for him. And then he said that kid was the future, right? And so, yeah, we really see that he really cared about Carl, and he's really emotionally affected by this, the news that Carl has died, right? Which is a little unexpected, right? We didn't really expect that. But then Rick says the only future is one where you're dead. So Rick is just ruthless at this point. I mean, Negan's actually emotional. He's feeling it a little bit. Rick is just, no, I'm killing you. You're going to be dead and whatever, right? He's like straight on it. And then Negan says, this exchange is just crazy. So then Negan says, why are you making this so hard? Carl is dead because of you. And that's like, come on. I mean, I know they're fighting a war. They hate each other. They want to kill each other. But that's pretty damn harsh. Blaming Carl's death on Rick. Clearly it was not his fault. And he's blaming Rick at this point. I mean, I don't know. That's a low blow, right? That's a low blow. But anyways, he says, Carl is dead because of you, because you couldn't leave shit alone. It is on you, because you weren't there to stop him from doing something stupid. Right? And he says, you set this course, Rick. Who's next? And we saw this in the previews for this episode as well. Who's next? And then Rick replies right away, says, you are. Right? You're next. You're the one who's going to die. This was big sequence here. And then Negan says, no, I'm not going to be the one next. But he says, but someone is. You failed as a leader. And most of all, you failed as a father. Crazy stuff. I mean, to say to this guy after he just lost his son, wow. I mean, this is deep. I think Rick actually will have to kill Negan at this point, or a big fight's gonna happen, because that's really big. And then he says, just give up because you've already lost, and then that's how the episode ends. So crazy stuff here. Negan and Rick, a little conversation. Negan says some things. Rick says some things. And we'll have to see where it goes next episode. So now I'll just quickly touch on a rating and some overall thoughts. Alright, so in terms for a rating for this episode, I'm going to give it a 4.5 out of 5. I thought this was one of the better episodes of Season 8. I'd say probably definitely top 5. I'd say The Damned was better than this one. Last episode was better than this one. And you could maybe say Some Guy, maybe the finale was better. But that's about it. Right, it was definitely top 5. And yeah, like I already touched on, the type of episode, the names and the sequences and all that. Like I said at the beginning, I'm not sure how I feel about that. I'm not sure if I love it. I'm not sure if I hate it. I'm kind of in between. But I mean, I wouldn't be objecting to seeing this again, this type of episode again. I thought it was interesting. And I thought that this episode really, answered a lot of questions for us, and that was a big thing that I expected from this episode. So yeah, I also just want to touch on the false description of this episode. Like, the description on IMDb, on the actual guide itself of AMC and the website and everything, they say in the description that members of the group converge on the hilltop or something and gather. And that was in the description. And then we saw a couple other things like the ocean side, and then Rick goes to the junkyard group or something like that. And yeah, those things happen. But we never saw any point of the episode at the hilltop. That was never focused on in this episode. So I don't know why they're providing a false description like that. Maybe they just meant like, that's what's going to be happening in the story, But I don't know. It didn't make sense to me that they just didn't show something that was in the description. So I don't know. I just wanted to put that out there. Maybe I'm wrong about this one. Maybe I missed something here. I don't know. But I was just a little bit irritated with that. Seeing that as just putting it out there falsely, I don't know. But anyways, next episode, I think we'll definitely see that for sure. But yeah, that's pretty much it there. Couple things, negatives, but mainly positives. I really liked the dialogue this episode. The things that Simon said, the Negan and Rick conversation, that was crazy, and all that. So yeah, that was great. Favorite character for this one, I'm gonna go with Simon. All right, Simon, Stephen Ogg. So obviously, he's not my favorite character, as in, I like him because he's a good guy. No, obviously that's not the case. But I like the character. I really like the way that they're going with them. The conflict between him and Negan is going to be very interesting going forward. I'm looking forward to seeing that, how that plays out. And Stephen Ogg's doing a great job. GTA 5 guy, right? He's from there. He's doing a great job. I feel like Simon is going to be dead by the end of this, season 8 half. He may even be dead in the next couple episodes. I'm not sure. I don't think he has a lot of time left after, not obeying Negan here. But still a great character, and very, very interesting. Probably one of my favorites in the series so far. Really good. And Stephen Ogg's doing an amazing job. So, anyways, guys, that'll just about do it for the review. I apologize for the length of this one. I'm really trying to trim these down, but these recaps just take quite a bit of time. But I like to go in depth and talk about it. So, anyways, guys, thanks for watching this review. Thanks for the recent support on the channel. Really, really appreciate it. Can't thank you enough. I think we're at 25,000 video views now. Crazy stuff. So yeah, really thankful for that. And yeah, so next episode should be good next week. Saw a couple of the previews. It looks very good. So yeah, so after you're done tuning in that one, please come back, watch my review for that one next week. So anyways, again, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week for episode 11.